You are listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud, conversations about trauma and healing from two women who are doing the work.
Hi, everyone. This is Kandace and Sher with Processing Trauma Out Loud. Sher, we started a little mini series last week on what is it like when we feel dysregulated in our bodies. You and I both gave some examples of you going to hypoarousal, me going to hyperarousal. And this week, what we wanted to do is just bring in some practices that we can do when we're in our dysregulation. I mentioned to you that, why do we want to do this? Why does that matter? Here's what I want to say. When we're dysregulated, whether we go into hyperarousal or hypoarousal, the further we go, the further we get away from choices that we generally feel really good about. Because we're feeling safe, we're feeling present, we're feeling calm, we're feeling alert. And disassociation or going into hyperarousal of high anxiety and stress, we begin making choices based on our coping behaviors, which oftentimes is going to get us in our shame loop.
And because it causes us to hurt the people who we love the most. If you had a parent who was angry all the time, or if you had a parent who just left and went to bed or took sleeping pills or was somehow, even if they were there, but they were absent. These are things that are really hurtful. And as a kid, when we experienced our parents being dysregulated, it was very unsettling and caused us literally to feel like our world wasn't safe. When we go into dysregulation, we also do things that have an effect on the people around us. And as you said, Kandace, so often that just plummets us into shame. And this is why we want to really talk about it, because we know that shame is not the place where any of us want to be. I'm extremely familiar with shame, and you are too. We want to help the whole world know how to not have to be stuck in shame, because when you feel stuck in shame, it's a miserable place to be. And you do feel so powerless. That's why we're talking about this. We want to bring empowerment so that we can each take steps toward bringing into our practice on a daily basis, the things that enable us to live our lives in the way that brings us and the people around us the most joy and love.
Last week, I mentioned that we can have practices that we do in the moment. You're in a conversation or you're in a meeting or whatever. There's some little practices that you can do that aren't disruptive. Then we can have practices that maybe we step away. Like if we even have 5 minutes or something, 10 minutes, a break, bathroom, whatever. And then we can actually do these practices that help our vagus nerve build neural pathways and know how to bring calm to our body, that the more we do, the easier access that we have to those, because our brain will just immediately know, oh, I have a resource here. I can do this practice. One of my practices that I've been doing more lately myself, so this would be more of an in the moment practice. If you're watching on YouTube, I have my arms crossed and I could just have them on the table like I did now, or you can have them up. It's feeling both of my arms, arm crossed, and just lightly rubbing them. And I was doing this with someone else the other day and she just loved it so much. It is very soothing. We actually did this earlier, you and you closed your eyes. And I was like imagining just a very safe, maybe mom or caregiver just standing before you and just bringing soothing to your body through rubbing your arms. Like I haven't even stopped doing it right now because it feels so good. So in that practice, what you're doing is so for me, it would be maybe I'm getting a little hyper aroused and I just want to bring some more calm to stay in my window of tolerance. It's just a easy practice that I can do. Yeah. What about
Yeah.
you? What's one of your favorites?
I want to also just add a little bit about that. Our skin we have millions of nerve receptors in our skin. And so, literally, there's physiological, biological reasons why this is effective. And I know from just with my grandchildren how a light touch like that, a gentle touch, just it causes them to melt and they will just lean in. It's like they want more. And one of my grandsons often will come over and just kind of pull the back of his shirt up a little bit and say, BB, will you just rub my back? And I love to do that. It's a beautiful way that we can soothe ourselves or soothe one another. Holding a hand and rubbing someone's hand it's the easiest thing in the world to do, and it works.
Yeah, I want to also add to that. We know that there are kiddos and even adults that have touch sensitivity, even asking, can I rub your back? Or obviously, your grandsons are asking you to do it. So that's an invitation. I think more and more people have this, or at least I hear about it more. Some people don't like massage, whatever. That's hard for me because I'm like, okay, we need touch. But I do think that for some people, it definitely has to be titrated and you need permission or access to be able to do that. But I do want to say, I think most people, because sometimes there are things that happen in childhood and it's not even the fault of a caregiver or anything, that touch just becomes unsafe. Maybe you've had a lot of medical procedures or something like that. I really felt like that was important to mention.
I'm glad you did, Candace. And another aspect of that, and we talked about this earlier too, was for those of us who have had physical or sexual abuse, somatic practices can feel very far away because we often are very cut off from our body. We don't feel anything except maybe pain. If there's enough pain, although we even often have very high pain tolerances, learning just to sense what things feel like in our body. It is a process. And I want to just acknowledge that too, because this has taken me a long time to be able to really get in touch with my body being present. And so I want to just acknowledge that for people that if this requires a process for you, we welcome that. That's why we're also making these and we're talking about things that are very easy to do. Try a few out. Try one out for a few days and see if it works for you. And if it doesn't, keep trying something until you find the things that do work for you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sure. What's a in the moment one that you like to use?
Yeah. I think for me, probably the one I do use the most, and I know that I've said this before, but I want to just say it again, and that is a deep breath, a deep cleansing breath. Now it's like I do it automatically. And then I will often be saying if I'm aware in the moment that I'm getting dysregulated, I literally will think in my mind, I am safe. I am safe. And I will just talk to my little girl, my young parts, and I will just be thinking about them. And I will be saying, like, we are safe. Mm-hmm. And that brings a lot of calm to my body. It's my main go-to, really.
Yeah. So these somatic practices are to help you stay present in the moment. That's one. And then they're also like if we can step away. So staying present in the moment, but they're also just for soothing our bodies back into regulation. Another one that I like, and this isn't so much in the moment because it would definitely disrupt the moment, but I like to turn my body to one side. Okay, so I'm looking to the left, but I'm leaning my head to the right next to my shoulder. I like to pull on my neck when I do it. When I'm doing this to regulate and to bring myself fully in the present, I'm actually thinking about the muscle in my neck that's being elongated. I'm actually thinking about how my neck's going one way and my eyes, like I'm very in the present thinking about what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
So this is like you can run to the bathroom and do this in like 2 minutes.
Yep.
Or less.
These have to be quick and easy or they won't work. And I love that you mentioned that. If you're with people The second you recognize that you are going into dysregulation, go to the bathroom. It's the best thing you can do is just get your body moving, leave the situation, just say, I'll be right back. I just have to go to the bathroom quick, and go to the bathroom and do your practice, because sometimes we need 2 or 3 minutes to just bring our body back into calmness. Yeah. So the bathroom is a great, that's a
I
great tool.
just had a memory come up. We didn't talk about this, but I'm going to share it. So if you listen to our last episode, I shared that one thing that can kind of get me going on the path of hypoarousal is the tone in someone's voice if they're accusing me or I've disappointed them. That's a big one. So this was several years ago. I was working in a department store, and one of the other employees came in, but she was, I think, like the assistant manager or something. And I had done something wrong. I don't remember what it was, but the way she approached me, it took everything in me not to cry. I wasn't practicing any of this stuff at this time, okay? But I went to the bathroom, and I mean, I just cried. But oh man, this is just making me feel really tender right now. And I remember thinking, what in the hell is wrong with me?
Yeah.
You know, I'm going to share one more thing about this. I got lots of things going on right now, but a few weeks ago, I went into this office and I witnessed an office worker treating this other office worker with this condescending tone. She had made a mistake or did something wrong on the computer. And I'm sitting there and I'm starting to get dysregulated, okay? Just witnessing this. And I thought to myself, I will not do business here unless they teach that lady how to help someone learn something.
Yeah.
Or even how to figure out what's going on. It's just these immediately, you've done something wrong. I don't know, like it's very triggering for me.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm
You
glad
tell
that
I'm getting hyper aroused.
I see that feisty part coming forward. Like, I'm going to go in there and tell them. And I think you should. I think you could. I don't want to use the word should. That there are times when we can use our voice, and you get that choice in the moment, whether you're going to or not. Yeah.
Mhm.
Good noticing.
Yeah, I think it's that condescending tone,
Mhm.
right?
Yep.
What
Good
about you? Do you
noticing.
have any other practices that you?
I think so many. I'm even noticing as we're sitting here, like I'm rubbing my hands, and I do rub my hands a lot. I will. I'm probably.
You probably start rubbing your hands when I get dysregulated.
Oh, I'm sure I do. Okay, Candace, we're good here.
We got to bring Candace down.
You have a much higher tolerance for hyper arousal than I do. What you can handle is I would feel like I'm off the charts, and you're just getting going. But
Yeah.
for me, and I will say probably again, because I tend to go toward hypo arousal, I will use things like I'll clap my hands, or I will like snap my finger against my palm. I often need to do things that are waking me up, like waking my system back up, getting me back into the present moment, because I'm going into hypoarousal and I'm starting to shut down. So I will move my feet on the floor, or something that kind of gets my blood flowing in a way. Those are things that I use. Another thing that I have done for many years is EFT tapping. And if any of our listeners are familiar with that, it is a process of just tapping on different pressure points on your body. Several of them are on your face, on your collarbone. There's lots on YouTube about EFT tapping. So if someone wants to learn more about it, it's a pretty remarkable tool to use alongside of story work, because when we tell our stories while we're tapping, it really engages different parts of our brain. It's been quite powerful for me in helping me access emotions too.
Mhm.
But there's one practice with tapping that some tapping is, you can't really do it in public because you're literally tapping on your face on different pressure points on your face. But there are also pressure points along the nail bed of our fingers. So right where the fingernail meets the skin, if you tap on that and just go from one finger, tap on it about 5 times, then to the next finger about 5 times. After doing that a couple of rounds, I will definitely feel my body start to relax. I often, when I'm doing it, I also will be saying, I am safe. And I will do this a lot of times. I've noticed when I'm in meetings where things get a little bit ramped up and maybe there's some tension where I'm not going to step in and stop anything, but I notice that I'm getting dysregulated. This is a way that I can take care of my body and bring my level of hyperarousal down. And no one even knows that I'm doing it, but
Yeah.
it's something that is very effective.
Yeah. I've seen you do that in our groups. There's something else I've noticed in our group. We have a lady who will draw while our conversation's going, which we all bless that.
Yep.
And so I love that we all have something, different. So now I want to kind of move into something more a little preemptive, where we don't have to be dysregulated, but it's still tending to our bodies. It's kind of like you said, when our bodies have experienced abuse and violation sexually, physically, how'd you say that? We became at war with our bodies, and our bodies can be this battleground. And so, like, any attention that we give our bodies that is gentle and kind and brings health and vitality, whether that's through eating good food, or for me, one of the preemptive things that I do, I try to move my body in some way every morning, even if it's a 30-minute walk, preferably outside, but more in the winter, it'll be at the gym. I love how I feel after I've taken care of my body in that way.
Yeah. I think so too. Getting into nature, that's another one for me. If I know that I'm going into a situation that's stressful, I do like to take a few minutes and just do some breathing, talking to my parts, and where I will just be very attentive to them and just checking in and saying, like, okay, is anyone feeling like you're in a place of needing something? And I will just listen. So tending to my parts is something that I will often do before I go into a meeting. And it helps me know that I've kind of done my homework in a way. Like,
Yeah.
I'm coming in with my, with my notebook and with my pen, and my parts are settled.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that because, if we're going into these conversations or meetings and we've done no prep work, we can get blindsided. I recently spoke a few months ago in front of a pretty large crowd, and I did a little bit of that prep work with, okay, these are some possibilities of what might come up. These are the parts that historically have felt vulnerable and have been hurt. And so, yeah, we take these things seriously. And this is why we do, because we care about relationships. We care about relationships with ourselves and how we can feel good about being in alignment with who we are and what we want to do and how we show up. We want to feel good about our relationships with other people. Are we speaking the truth in love? Are we receiving love? Do we feel good about how we're interacting? And, for Sher and I, we have faith in God. We want to, keep that relationship of checking in, like, do I feel in alignment with what I believe about my core values and my spirituality? And here's what I want to say. We don't always. We don't always feel good about ourselves. We don't always feel good about how we've handled relationship or where we're at with God. And that's okay. When we don't feel good about it, all it is data to say, you know what? What do we need to look at? What do I want to do differently? What am I missing? It doesn't have to feel fatal. We don't have to turn against ourselves and get it into our identity like we're a bad person or we're stupid or whatever those lies historically are. We can just slow down and, like, oh, I have something that's showing me I need to get reconnected again with who I truly am.
I love that, Candace. And that is loving ourselves well
Mhm.
and taking care so that we can show up in the world in the ways that we love who we are and we are experiencing life in a way that feels good. And yeah, so that's why we're talking about these two episodes on dysregulation and somatic practices that can help us when we get dysregulated or even to be preemptive. Yeah, anything else that you want to say before we bring our episode to a close, Candace?
I don't think so. I want to go back and listen. Yeah. There are, I will say this. There are so many practices that you can do. And of course, if you're watching on YouTube, you're going to see the cover. But there's a little book that I have that I've been using, pulling some things out of called 101 Ways to Find Calm, How to Use Your Body to Soothe Your Mind by Rebecca Bala. And I learned about this in one of my healing story groups. Yeah.
Love it. That's a great resource. And that's what we're offering today. We want to offer some resources that can be helpful in the day-to-day. So Candace, great to be with you as always. And I love you.
I love you too, friend. Good to be with you.
Thank you for listening to Processing Trauma Out Loud. Make sure to check out the show notes for links to suggested resources and social media. Like, subscribe, and follow to keep up with our weekly content. And if you don't mind, take a moment to rate and review us. Your feedback is extremely valuable and contributes to the success of this podcast. One last thing. If you have found this podcast helpful in any way, or if you have questions on how to take the next steps on your healing journey, please reach out to us via email at KandaceSher@gmail.com. That's KandaceSher@gmail.com. Our sound engineer is Jeremiah Jones of Auditory LLC. We welcome you to join us for more conversations soon. Take care.